What is up, everybody? TK is week 5, and man, we had such good picks that Zach couldn't even show up for the meeting.
blew him off the screen.
Actually, it's funny. Zach's out traveling, and then still throws in a diss on TK's TK City.
Always an Ohio diss from Zach every week. The streak continues.
Yeah, he's there, but
yes.
Anyhow, so Zach will be back next week. If you guys are looking for where the really good picks are, he'll be dropping them in Discord, though, for our members. But honestly, TK and I were just talking. We were really excited for this week. Before getting into picks, actually, how did you do last week? Because I have to do my cash recap where I just sit on following my sword every week. How about you?
Yeah. I just keep doing well in GPPs, but I can't seem to figure out this cash. It's like
so that's where we're gonna go. I'm so glad you said that. Actually, I nailed FanDuel, which was great. Finally got off the schneid there because Dalton Schultz was like 4,900, and dude, you play tight ends versus Cleveland.
Always
like 6% in FanDuel, under 5K.
6%. It's a steal.
I mean, everybody played Hawkinson, which I get, but
right.
Anyhow, so it's actually funny you say that because I know why we're both doing well in GPP. It's because we're stacking the shit out of these high total games. So I ask you, as I look at 2 games on this slate that just absolutely just jump on the page, which are Carolina and Atlanta and Dallas and New York, is there a reason that we should not just get stack happy in cash?
I'm beginning to think I should be, and I think when I'm starting to plug in these quarterbacks that I need their receiver, their tight end, the running back, and then 2 players on the other side, because it seems like I'm going to get one of these cash duds that holds me back each and every week. Last week it was Robert Woods, and I'm thinking,
or for me it was DJ, or for the rest of the world, you were actually somewhat sharp, but the rest of the world was DJ Moore.
Yeah, and he was a great play. I had both of them.
Oh,
so
very good.
Right.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I missed the cash line by like 5 points.
You know what's funny? And you can attest to this too. And like I like you did well because I just started I made like 20 lines in GPPs, and my last 10 were Cleveland and Dallas game stacks. I loved your Chubb play, and he was in like 6 of them. He was destroyed. But But I literally, you can remember this in the text. I don't have enough Odell. I made my first 10 lineups. I only had like 2 Odell, and I'm like, oh God, I think Odell's going to be smashed. And so I started jamming on Odell. But then I had so much DJ Moore and the other ones, and they're the same price, or it was 100.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the thing. Like when I'm starting to build these stacks, I'm doing the quarterback, and then whatever quarterback I do the opposing running back, thinking that maybe the one team's going to run more because they're going to be out in front. And so I'm trying to get, my 2 receivers with the quarterback that I played, and then I'm playing the running back and maybe like 1 offset receiver in the other lineup. So when I built my Cleveland and Dallas stacks, I had OBJ and, Nick Chubb, and then I'd have Dak, Cooper, and then either Lamb or Schultz.
That's still did well.
And that's how well, and I did really well with that strategy, playing the running back opposed to the other team's quarterback, and then a one-off receiver I felt had touchdown upside. So I think that's my main stacking GPP strategy.
And here's the other one: just play all these running backs that are catching, because these quarterbacks are so check down happy right now. So So yeah, we'll talk a lot about that, but cool. So I think that's going to be a recurring theme during our couple picks in the next 15, 20 minutes. But so let's just jump right into it. Let's see how much of these 2 games that we can get out, we can regurgitate. So I'll let you kick it off with quarterback. Give me a couple of your targets.
Okay, so without Zach here, I'm going to pick up the slack a little bit on some extra plays. I'm going to give you 2 studs I really like to talk about. Real quick, I'll talk Dak, 7,400. It's no secret. I mean, it's obvious. 450 yards, 472 yards, and 502 yards on the past 3 weeks. 3+ touchdowns in each week. This is Kellen Moore's offense. This is Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. This is a pass-first offense. Their offensive line is not like it used to be a couple years ago, where they were running the ball down everyone's throat, and they were running these read options with Dak. Dak throws the ball first now. Yeah. So when I'm thinking Dallas, I'm thinking this pass-happy offense, and Zeke's not running well. The line, like I said, is banged up. And they're going to go up again. We got Dallas has the Giants. Yeah. The Giants are not bad defensive line either. Okay,
fair. I thought you were going to say they weren't bad. I'm like,
No, the defensive line's not bad. Like, they kind of held the Rams running backs in check last week, but they just couldn't stop Cooper Kupp. So,
one time
midway through the third quarter, it was only like a 10-point game. And then, Goff finally figured it out. And I'm thinking this is a week where the Cowboys and Giants are throwing the ball 40 plus times, trying to keep up with one another. And I'm honestly inclined to fade Zeke and maybe play a little bit of, Devonta Freeman on the other side, and then load up on my receivers here in this game for Dak and the Giants. I was thinking about Watson at 6,900, but we were talking before the show, and you had mentioned some unpredictability about what's going to happen here with Bill O'Brien leaving ship, and I think that's pretty fair. And at 6,900 is relatively expensive to take a risk when there are better plays below him. And then Dak is only like $500 more in salary above him. So, yeah, thank you for talking me off of that ledge, and let's hope that he doesn't crush in a 54-point total.
I still think I might run some because I think him plus Will Fuller is just like a super, super easy stack.
And then, you can do like the James Robinson on the other side and like a DJ Chark, and there's your game stack. Yeah. So I think that would be like the third most optimal game to stack, but I'm not as super high on the Jags Texans stack as I could be. I kind of like a sneaky game here to be more competitive than people think, and we'll get to that later when we start talking about the wide receivers. But who do you got in quarterbacks this week?
So I'm actually gonna give you my favorite right now, which is Danny Dimes. Yeah. So here's the funny thing, I was surprised by how much steam Fitzmagic caught last week. And, looking back on it, I don't think it was a bad play. Like, I don't think if you played Fitzmagic in cash or any lineups that was bad. That game just kind of took a weird pace on it. But anyhow, so as I was digging into Danny Dimes, because immediately, first thing I did was find out who the Cowboys are playing. Like, oh, God, the Giants. Why? but maybe this isn't as bad as we think. Last 4 games for Danny Dimes, 36, 32, 40, and 41 pass attempts. He has at least 3 rushing attempts each game and 40-plus yards the last 2. Not scoring the ball. He has 2 touchdowns passing, but we know if there's one solve for any ailing offense, it would be the Cowboys. So I just think at 5,400, I don't want to say it's impossible to fail because everybody can fail, especially if they make my lineup. But I think that 5,400 really does give you good upside. We know this from Jones last year. He's going to have a couple of these like huge games, especially with the rushing upside. So I like it. And then my other guy, Josh MVP Allen, 7,500. Dude, he's going to go so low owned, low owned. And the Tennessee matchup, I mean, assuming this game even goes, so I'm not going to go too much because there's a chance that this game can play because the Titans are just lunatics right now or something. I don't know what they're doing. But
stupid stuff is what they're doing.
I did no idea. Yeah. But anyhow, low owned, 3 rushing attempts this year. And his pass attempts, 34, 33, 35, 46. We talked about low last week that we just always think Buffalo is a low pace. And I think if people see Buffalo and Tennessee playing each other, they cross off. And honestly, that could be a low owned shootout. And I think the pieces to run it back in like a stack are pretty easy. So I think with the COVID, what's that? Yeah.
I was going to say real quick on Josh Allen, like you just alluded to, I think people are going to be off that game with the unpredictability of the COVID. Yeah. They don't know if Tennessee is going to show up with positive tests the morning of. And
we'll know. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, look, neither one of us are 150 line builders. So,
True.
If you have lines, it's not that hard to edit out 5 down lines. So
true. Last quarterback we failed to mention, Teddy Bridgewater.
No, not his name. Teddy check down.
Teddy check down. Yes. Or Teddy Two Gloves. Bridgewater, QB4 last week. He's in a 54-point total, only a 2-point dog to the Falcons. We just saw Aaron Rodgers not go 20 for 20 to running backs and tight ends.
So good.
20 for 20 passing attempts and completions. Aaron Rodgers last week. So your Teddy check down is going to have a monster matchup here
So good.
Against the Falcons after what we just saw Aaron Rodgers do. He had 2 touchdowns last week, 32 rushing yards and a touchdown. I love me some Teddy Bridgewater. And not for the faint of heart, but Kyle Allen, 4,100, GPP only. What could go wrong? Dang near min price. So
who was it?
Kyle Allen for the Washington Redskins.
Oh, God.
4,100.
Oh,
I mean, yeah.
Well, why don't you go up to Flacco at 4,800? Flacco.
God.
Ugh.
Ooh, we're talking some
find the
dumpster
money for Danny
things,
Dimes. Find the money for Danny Dimes.
Yeah. Like I said, not for the faint of heart.
I do want to mention one thing though, too. If you run like a game stack with Teddy check down, run it back another one with Matt Ryan. He's only 6,100. Wasn't too long ago that we were paying 6,800 for him and going 300-yard bonus is guaranteed. So I did that. That price I thought was a little interesting to me too.
Yeah.
All right, running back. So I'm going to take the lead in the first one because we just talked about this game. We talked about Teddy check down. So who's he going to check it down to? 23 times in the last 3 games to Mike Davis.
Oh my gosh.
You do know that is 2020, by the way, TK. When you're 6,400 for Mike Davis and projecting him to be over 50% owned, that is the true sign of 2020. But look, he got some goal line. Yes, he got a few of his who's his Bonifin. I didn't really know.
That was late in the game.
Yeah. Look, Mike Davis still getting plenty of touches. We know what's been the flow chart for ever since Dan Quinn got to Atlanta. Running backs versus Atlanta. And now get somebody that just feasts in the air. Again, 23 targets in the last 3 games.
My gosh.
I'm going to get 15 carries as well. So I think Mike Davis is kind of, in my opinion, like one of the cash locks. Right when you start. Who else you got?
I'm going to go a little bit higher. James Robinson, 6,800. This is the Jags versus the Texans again. Jags giving up 5.4 yards per carry. This guy's, the only one getting carries in Jacksonville. Chris Thompson didn't even touch the ball last week. He's got he had 130 yards and 2 TDs last week. Cook went for 130 yards and 2 TDs last week versus the Texans. So I do like James Robinson to get another 15 carries. He's not a guy that's going to get close to 100 yards. I think that's kind of like is what it is. But in retrospect, he's going to get close to 100 total yards between receiving and rushing. And he's going to get the goal line work. He's going to get the pass catching work. And we're talking another 54-point total here. I don't see why James Robinson shouldn't be in some GPP lineups, but I agree with you. Mike Davis, definitely the better cash play.
Well, I'll just say this. James Robinson from that Thursday, he's good, man. Like
he is. He can run well.
I love those undrafted guys too that get a chance. I think he was undrafted or like super late round. Like they definitely
undrafted.
It was undrafted. Yeah. So you're just going to stay in that range and I'm going to give you other play that I think we both agree is going to be really popular, which is Edwards-Helaire. We saw, Monday night's game, and I think it was the week before him, but I think he's getting close to 90% of the snap work. Again, I'm like so big these days I'm never going like running back that's going to get me like 1 to 2 targets. Like it's just not happening on DK anymore. Not this season. So Edwards-Helaire, the last 3, only 3, 6 and 8 in the last 2. 6,800, I think, to get the exposure to the KC offense. Which look, I know I love Dallas, I love New York, I love Atlanta, I love Carolina, but you never can really go wrong with the Chiefs offense.
Nope.
Assuming that Stephon Gilmore did not make his best defensive play of the season and take out Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
We're that still waiting. Will happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if something were to happen in Mahomes, I don't know if I would just necessarily run to Edwards-Helaire. But as long as the GOAT is playing, then I think that sub 7K for CEH makes a lot of sense.
Who is the backup for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I don't know that answer.
I have no idea.
Nor do I think most Chiefs fans want to acknowledge who the backup is.
That's a great question. He's probably
I'll look it up as you're doing your next one, but I don't think I think the biggest Chiefs I heard is like, don't ask me that question. I don't want to acknowledge that we even have one. Mahomes or die.
Okay, so I'll get going here. I like Jerick McKinnon, 5,800. There are 9-point favorites versus the Dolphins. He had eight targets in the last 2 weeks, or 8 targets last week, 14 carries in the last 2 weeks. He scored a touchdown in 3 straight weeks. McKinnon, very explosive, as we know. He's going to get a great matchup here with Dolphins, who surrendered, a lot of receiving yards and rushing yards. James Robinson a couple Thursdays ago. Jerick McKinnon seemingly bumped Jeff Wilson out of the picture. And if Raheem Moser misses again, I don't see why we can't run it back with McKinnon. But like I said, if Moser comes back, then I'm going to be a little bit more inclined to run that fade and just keep paying up at running back. But I do want to make a small notion here. Damien Harris, Monday night, came off of the IR and played in the Sony Michel role, which is all the carries and all the goal line work with none of the receiving work. So 4,300, not a bad price tag to get a guy that's probably going to get 12 to 15 carries. He did rush for 100 yards and, the potential goal line touchdowns without Cam Newton. If the Patriots don't have Cam Newton, would be very good for Damien Harris. But if Cam's back, probably not a good play.
So I don't know if I searched wrong. Cam's not even in the player pool, man.
What?
He wasn't in the player pool when I looked.
I thought he was
asymptomatic. Now I'm gonna have to double check it. But yeah, let me double check. And then I got your pop quiz. Yeah, he's not in the player pool. So yeah, I'm sure they will just add him back if need.
All right. It's probably not much to do. But yeah.
All right, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. Backup quarterback for KC. All right. Well, this is going to make you feel really old, too. He's 35 years old, was the quarterback at Michigan, drafted in the 2nd round by the Dolphins.
Chad Henne.
Yes.
That's my Big Ten.
I thought he would have been retired.
Wow, Chad Henne?
Chad Henne. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I was thinking Brian Greasy, too.
Oh, no, he's definitely announcing. I mute him.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's
Henne.
Yeah, there's a throwback. All right, let's jump to wide receiver. I'm going to kick off and just go straight to Dallas and talk about 2 guys in that game that I think are awesome.
Fire away.
So, dude, give me – I'm not even going to make you guess. I'm just going to say it because these numbers are staggering. Amari Cooper, here are his targets. 16,
no, God.
12, 9, and 14. It's insane. It's insane. I think there's still this notion of how many times that Amari Cooper screwed us as a Raider. When Michael Crabtree would get his looks or whoever the hell else there was there.
Caught all the touchdowns, Crabtree.
7,400. Dak obviously is locking into Cooper. Gallup has kind of been non-existent except for the Seahawks game. CeeDee Lamb's been playing well, but still is only getting 7-8 targets. So I think Cooper, in my opinion, might be the best wide receiver on the slate. You're going to talk about, I think, which is an awesome, awesome pivot for people that got their monies burned by him last night or 2 nights ago. Yes, but
I'm definitely. I know who we know who you're referring to.
Well, we're talking about Calvin Ridley, but you'll talk about him in a minute.
Calvin Ridley.
But I do want to stay in that game. I just want to stay in that game. I think. I hope he goes low owned. I have not done any sort of reading on anybody else's stuff. Just my own research. Darius Slayton. I actually mentioned him on my little recap on Sunday afternoon before pricing was even out. I think he could have a huge game versus Dallas. 7, 7, 6, and 9 targets the last 4, 4,800. We don't have to worry about Sterling Shepard anymore. So give me a bomb to Slayton, and I think he could easily put up 25, 30 PK. So,
if we're talking about a guy that's going to not. I wouldn't say mimic what Odell Beckham just did against the Dallas Cowboys, but
he has a profile. I actually made the mistake. I actually started comparing him, and I stopped myself. I'm like, I'm not going to go that far, but he's still a super athlete,
super athletic, and he's going to get some rushing yards. He's going to be involved in this offense as a primetime playmaker. Is Golden Tate? He can play well out of the slot, but if you want to get the ball downfield. He's going to be, Danny Dimes going to be throwing to Slade, and he's going to be talking about a player to be named later. But, definitely for the Giants, this is going to be a 35-plus passing day. Slayton's going to get 10 targets.
Well, and
at 4,800, that's you can't pass on it.
Here's the other thing. There's only one wide receiver on the Giants that's caught a touchdown this season. Darius Slayton has 2.
Right. There you have. I love the play. Love him.
All right. Why don't you give us your Falcons love?
Yeah, so I'm not going to give up on the Falcons after one bad Monday night in a terrible spot. the Green Bay Packers have no slot corner, but they do have some decent outside corners in King. Calvin Ridley let the world down.
His name. It was the other guy that destroyed Ridley. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
I'm blinking. Anyhow,
yeah.
Zach was about it. Zach literally like 5 minutes for a lock went, crap. I think he jumped off a lot of Ridley.
Yeah. Ridley was a big goose egg, but the 3 games before that, he had targets of, 13, 10, and 12. He's got 4 TDs on the year. We got Julio Jones missing with hamstring issues. I honestly don't think Julio plays in this game.
I don't either.
Coming off that short week. And the guy to be mentioned here at 3K, Alameda Zaccheaus. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah, 9 targets in the Falcons Green Bay game. He had 8 catches for 80 yards. He's got relatively good numbers, and he's sitting there at 3K, the minimum. That's like, I don't know, probably going to be a cash lock if Julio misses. I think they're going to play Ridley. I think you could play both, but Alameda and Ridley going to be decent spots here versus the Carolina Panthers in an expected shootout. And then on the other side of that game, if you want to go with run it back with DJ Moore for GPPs. And Robbie Anderson's got 11 targets, 5 targets, 10 targets, 8 targets in his 4 games. He's got 3 games with over 100 yards. I think last week he had a 99. That's the same thing. Yeah. But, he's got a couple touchdowns. He's got a couple touchdowns. He's a big play guy. These guys are 6,400, 5,900. They're not super expensive. I think this stack with Ridley, Alameda, and then you want to run it back on the other side with a big touchdown threat guy like Robbie Anderson, Mike Davis. This stack's going to be each, 6, 7 different ways for me. But, yeah, both receivers on this side of the ball or on this side, on these sides of the teams are going to be huge for me.
So you touched on it, man. Dude, like DJ Moore after burning so many people last week.
Oh, yeah. Just like Derrick Henry, week 2. Week 3.
It was somebody I circled right away. And it's funny because I circled him, then he doesn't make a lot of builds, but God, you could just see this being like a 10 for 120 and 2 touchdowns, and just everybody tilting their faces off.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I could see everyone around 3 p.m. on Sunday going, "Oh, now DJ Moore wants to score a touchdown."
I was 1 week early. Why couldn't he do this last week? He's like, you got to run it back. So I mean, I'm definitely going to have exposure. There's no way not to, especially, like Zach brought up some of that advanced stats last week that, Teddy's still targeting him plenty, and he's like his worst targeted receiver. It's going to change. So
he's just not catching the ball. That's all. Catch the ball.
It'll change.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to tight end. We don't love it. So I'm the Dallas, New York guy, and I'm way too much New York, but I was actually really surprised by his price and even more surprised by his targets, 10, 5, 8, and 7. Again, I brought up at the start of this just how much New York is passing the ball. And guess what? Devontae Freeman ain't going to all of a sudden make them want to run the ball 30 times.
No.
So, and the game flow. I think I was going to mention this when you were talking about Dak. The only concern I could have on Dak is that the Cowboys have had the perfect game flow over and over and over again for Dak to go nuclear. And just what happens if they get up 21-3 or 14-3? Like, do they revert and, feed Zeke and even get like Pollard involved? I don't know that answer, right? I'm going to have plenty of all of it. But your Giants, and why I've been bringing so much, in my opinion, I don't see a route that the Giants go 14-0, and it isn't because Jones has 2 touchdowns. I don't see Devontae Freeman breaking the Cowboys, despite how terrible the Cowboys' run defense is. So it brings us back to Evan Ingram, 4,600. We already brought up plenty of plays that you can spend up a little bit at tight end. I'm not telling you to go up to 7,000, although there's some great tight ends on this slate. But Evan Ingram gives you the target share. Super talented guy. Honestly, at this point, he's probably Daniel Jones is like number 2 wide receiver without Sterling Shepard. He's going to be that security blanket. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think Ingram's notorious for a Dallas killer, isn't he?
I feel like it. This is
Odell left.
There's always a Sunday night game, so we always have a showdown in this. And I feel like he's like scored like over and over. I didn't look that up. Shame on me, but
Yeah, I mean, that's super sharp. Tight ends is going to be pretty hard outside of that. I think you you got the 4 of the best in the league with Kittle, Kelsey, and Waller and Ertz up there at the top. I think of the 4, my 2 would be Kittle and Waller. Waller's in a very good big smash spot here versus Kansas City. I doubt Raiders going to be throwing the ball a lot. This is going to be a game where Kansas City probably jumps out to a lead, and then David Carr is going to be dropping back every 5 times and either throwing a 20-yard completion or getting sacked, fumbled. So it's going to be one of those kind of days for the Raiders. I wanted to keep elaborating on that game, and I have this massive Tyree Kill love at 6,900 for GPPs. Yeah. He's scored in every game. He's got 6 targets. We got a 56.5 total. This is with barring that Mahomes doesn't miss, but Tyree Kill at home versus the Raiders, who struggle to give up big plays. I'm really liking this Tyree Kill. If you've watched these primetime Kansas City games, he seems to be involved in the offense even more so than players like Kelsey. This looks like a big Tyree Kill year. Gonna love him. And for tight ends, if you want a bottom barrel, Mo Alley Cox looks like he's going to move in as the number 1 tight end for the Colts. This is our Colts versus Browns. This is like game flow. Yeah. Yep. The game flow chart tells me I got to play the Mo Alley Cox play at 4,200. And Eric Ibron, if we just saw what George Kittle did to the Eagles on Sunday night, Eric Ibron, definitely a guy who can catch a couple touchdowns at 4K for the Steelers. Yeah. But largely, there's a lot of games I'm avoiding, and those 2 guys are in 2 games I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, I think a lot is just going in the game flow. But I do want to just bring up, I think we had a good George Kittle talk before this too, that you watched that game, Nick Mullins only had 1 read. If it wasn't a bubble screen to Ayuk, or they had a couple I think I had 1 shovel pass to Debo, it literally was I'm throwing to George Kittle. And that's a good person to lock in on, but
sure.
I think we've seen Jimmy G, as long as he's back, has no problem spreading it around a lot more. That's gonna do it, TK. Do you have anything else to bring up?
Nope, I'm excited for this 3-game slate.
You know what? We just have to keep reminding ourselves, remind our subscribers, remind everybody, focus on the games that you love. Stick to those convictions. Don't try to let these super fun plays and this is the guy's underpriced. Look, stick to the games. You're gonna have the points, and you should be successful. Thank you all so much for watching. Bottom right of the screen, I just pointed to the left, but it was my right. The subscribe button, please make sure you hit that. Really helps. Thank you guys all for getting us over 800. Next step is to 9. You all have a great week 5. See you.
See ya.